The Herd Line News, sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.
Well, Luka's on his way to being a superstar in the NBA. He's gotten a lot of praise in his short time in the league, but according to Brian Windhorst, Luka may not be a draw for other players. He said, I don't know how many people are going to be excited to play with Luka. I think Luka is maybe a difficult person. He's a great player, but when you watch the Mavericks play, he's barking at the coach, he's barking at his teammates, he's barking at the officials. He's always barking about something. So with a guy who has options, I'll be interested to watch to see how that goes going forward.
Well, he also controls the ball. There's a Harden to him a little bit, where to be as great as he is, he needs the ball. And that's why I've said we're all looking at what the Mavericks need. What they really need is somebody to spell Luka from dominating the ball and let him play off ball. You can't ask this guy to play 47 minutes having the ball. We always go James Harden. That game's not built for the playoffs.
Right.
Didn't Luka look exhausted? And by the way, Luka's a kid. Usually when you're young, you get old and exhausted. So to me, what Dallas needs is 6 minutes of Luka, not with the ball in his hands, both halves. Because that's the thing with Harden is you cannot, like the late Kobe Bryant told Harden, you cannot play that way and then go 7-7-7 in the playoffs and play 24 games.
Yeah.
You just can't. And so when Luka got worn down, everybody's like, well, is he in shape? And I'm like, he's in good enough NBA shape. That style, he needs somebody to take him off the ball for a big spot every half.
And to your point about Harden, he changed how he played this season with the Nets. And
more distributor.
It looked like it was working.
Yeah.
Obviously, injuries are what inevitably derailed them, but that style of play, if they're all healthy next year, they're going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So I get what Brian is saying here. I think I would disagree in that I think if another competitor gets along with Luka personally, I mean, different people communicate differently, right? Like some people don't like to be yelled at. I'm one of those people. I'm not listening to you if you're screaming at me. You have to talk. Like, use your words.
Right.
I'm not into the yelling thing. Some people don't mind that. We've talked about this with Chris Paul. Not that Chris Paul is necessarily a yeller, but younger players tend to respond better to Chris Paul's guidance than older players. Older players don't want to hear his style of communication. So I know the Doncic temper thing was a conversation last year. You know, it was a concern. Obviously, he's landed in trouble a couple times with the referees, but that's clearly his personality. So it's a matter of, we know that he is capable of greatness. What are they going to put around him? And bringing players in is not just about, okay, we're recruiting the star. Like, you have to find things that fit, especially when you have specific personalities. So making sure that your stars are on the same page and they can actually play together and like get along to some degree. You don't have to necessarily be best friends off the court, but can you get along on the court? Can you communicate on the court is very important. So it will be interesting to see what the Mavericks do, because they do need to bring someone else in. So Paul George has taken a lot of criticism for his playoff performances throughout his career. He even said after Game 5 on Monday that he believes he gets criticized more than other NBA stars, and Charles Barkley is not a fan of that narrative.
These dudes, man.
What? What do you mean?
Every great player gets criticized.
Yes.
I don't hear that bull
Crap.
Every great player. I have gotten criticized because I didn't win a championship. Michael Jordan, before he won the championship, he can't win. Shaq, Kobe, everybody's gotten criticized. This false narrative. I'm hearing these jackasses on television talking about somebody gets scrutinized more than other people. Give me a freaking break. Paul George is a terrific player, but that goes with being a terrific player. And these other guys talk about he gets treated unfairly. Give me a freaking break.
Expectations change how people perceive you.
Yeah. Now,
it's not Paul George's responsibility to live up to or live in any way or the perspective of what other people have of him, but he's very inconsistent. He is great, and he can be really bad in big moments. There's a reason why this narrative exists. I understand what he's saying. He does get a certain type of criticism. We talked about this, I think, right earlier. He does get teased a bit in a way that other stars maybe don't. I mean, I don't even know if I can necessarily agree with that because, like, the internet is harsh to everybody.
Yeah, mean. It's bad to presidents. It's bad to everybody.
It's a very mean place. Like, and if you don't want to hear mean, anonymous people be as mean as they feel like they can be because they are anonymous, the internet's probably not the best place for you. You're going to need to limit that. But as far as, like, I don't want to elevate what we do to valuable criticism, but it is our face and our voice on the criticisms that we give of people.
Yeah.
And I'm conscious of that personally.
Right.
I assume anyone I'm talking about can be hearing what I'm saying live. So I speak accordingly. You speak off of facts and numbers and what you see and what you've experienced. The internet doesn't do that. So, like, I'm not going to come on here and call him way off P. That's not, there's no value in that for me.
I'm not a huge nickname. I'm not into that stuff. Like a lot of people, like, remember Trump president, he had a nickname for everybody. And until Sleepy Joe didn't land, and I remember reading a story why it's not working. Like people, it wasn't a good enough nickname. Like I'm not a nickname guy. There are hosts that do that. So I do think Nick Wright said earlier, I'm willing to criticize guys. I did say Westbrook. I will say I went Westbrook. But he does shoot a lot of bricks. I felt like that was justified. Russell Westbrook, I don't think I started it, but I said that multiple times. Well, I don't regret it, but it is a little mean.
Yeah, I think that there's a limit to what the criticism should be. Yeah. And of course, it's also like, is Paul George expected to be the leader of the organization? Is he expected to be like that level of consistent every single night? We talked about Chris Middleton. Like, it's not Chris Middleton's team. That's Giannis's team. Like, does Chris Middleton need to, put forth some at least decent performances? He can't go out there and have 5 points, but do we expect him to have 38 every night? No. So I think the expectations change depending on who you are, and maybe that's what's unfair to Paul. Maybe we shouldn't expect that of Paul George, and that's what's put him in this place. But Charles is right. Everyone gets criticized, and if you get criticized, it's because people are paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, they got to watch your games to criticize you.
Yes. So tight ends can often be overlooked as a part of football, even with the emergence of stars like George Kittle and Gronkowski and Travis Kelce over the years. And Greg Olsen he's tired of the disrespect. He said he thinks tight ends as a group are underpaid for everything that they're asked to do on the field.
We have to do the same that $15 million left tackle has to do and run routes against the same guy the $15 million wide receiver has to run routes against, and they're going to pay us $7.
He's not lying.
Yeah, I mean, what's the truth is tight ends deserved their little pay 15 years ago. What has happened to the position, it's become more used, more valuable with better players. So when I grew up, like Kellen Winslow was a complete outlier. The great for the Chargers. You're like, nobody played the position like that. There's like 9 Winslows now in the game. Like the position now has been elevated. It's like we said, wide receivers. It used to be in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you needed a great running back. You did not need you didn't have to have Jerry Rice to be really good. But now in the NFL, New England has the best coach and had Brady, but they were bad at wide receiver and got whacked early in the playoffs.
I don't know, though. I think the tight end position has been really valuable for a long time. It's just been able to be marginalized because the higher end of the tight ends, the Shannon Sharps, the Tony Gonzalez's, the Kellen Winslows were more of the outliers, and now it's become more of the norm for them to be higher level talent.
You can't be bad at tight end anymore.
Right.
Like
so
Seattle.
In the past, you could have a great, all-time great tight end like Shannon Sharp, like Tony, like Kellen. And the rest of the league there'd be a big margin between them and the rest of the league. Now that's not the case.
No.
So I'm with him. They're being asked to do more. I mean, look at Kyle Pitts.
They think he could be a receiver.
Yeah. So like they are, the pay is going to eventually change because there's so much more value.
Travis Kelce led the Chiefs in catches. Like the tight end now is in fact, it's a very interesting tool because it's too big for a corner to cover and too fast for a linebacker. So now the smart coaches, Andy Reid, Belichick, those guys have been in on that very quick. 10, 12 years ago, they started using that